All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. So today we are going to be talking about your final Tennocon 2022 prep going into tomorrow. This video is coming out the day before Tennocon, and there's going to be a lot to discuss and a lot of things to take care of to make sure you do all the things that you probably should do going into Tennocon and don't regret not doing any particular thing. So for that, we have the new notes program that you guys are probably going to see a lot in the coming times. It's been a lot on stream and not a lot in videos yet, but this is our first go with it. So let me know what you guys think. But this is going to be everything you guys are going to need for Tennocon 2022. First and foremost, special codes that are active for Tennocon. We have two of them. We have Tennocon 2022 and WF-Death-Battle, both of which you can enter in the in-game market, and the items you receive are as such. We got about 250,000 credits, a bunch of Riven Slivers, and a bunch of Kuva for our Tennocon 2022. And for the Warframe Death Battle code, we have a helmet for Excalibur, a Karak, a Prismaskana, the Tenno color palette, which is very nice, and then a glyph as well. Both of these together, for anyone who is a less experienced player, or if you're new, these are really good, solid boosts for people who are newer to the game, especially the credits, and of course the color palette for anyone who's new is always much appreciated. So those are pretty nice going into Tennocon. But besides that, we're going to go over the full schedule for Tennocon and also my schedule for Tennocon, as I will be streaming it, and we are going to be a sponsored stream for the event. So with that, all these times are Eastern time, which is the time zone the DE runs on. First and foremost, the day is going to begin at 12:30 p.m. That is going to be with Reb and Megan, and I am going to be starting at this time, or possibly a little bit earlier than that, to get things started. We are on my stream going to be at least listening to the main stream the whole time, with some dips here and there depending. But that is going to be our kind of intro to Tennocon, and then we have a pre-recorded sound panel that's going to be the first thing up. And of course, I've listed all the people who are going to be on these panels here, if anyone is interested. 2 p.m. is a dev Q&A that's going to be live. That's going to include Pablo, Kaz, and Matt, and then hosted by Megan. And then there's 2 more pre-recorded panels at 3 and 4. We have an art panel and then a community art and cosplay show. And then at 5, we have Tenno Live. So Tenno Live is going to be a huge event, of course. And that is not the only place you're going to get drops. The drops are going to be active starting at 12:30, and the drops are going to change throughout the day. And we're going to talk about the other items that are going to be available for Tennocon. So drops are available directory-wide. That means that you will get drops if you are in my stream or a different streamer who has drops enabled on their channel. I can guarantee to you that I have drops enabled on my channel. The thing that you need to do is make sure that you link your Twitch account to your Warframe account, which means just log into your Warframe account through a web browser and then go in and link your account to your Twitch account. Go do that prior. Would highly advise you do that. And if you have already linked your account and it's been a year or whatever since you've cared about Twitch drops, probably go unlink and relink your account, because the Twitch API can sometimes be, less than good. So I would advise that as well. With that, we have a new Warfan and a Sugatra that is going to be available for the first part of Tennocon before Tenno Live from 12:30 until 5 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, it's going to switch over from 5 until 7, which I believe Tenno Live is only scheduled to be an hour, but it's going to be an additional hour past that for Titania Prime. So even if you don't make it for the beginning of Tenno Live or whatever, if you are in any stream, my stream, or any stream that's in the directory that has the drops enabled, you will be able to get Titania up until 7 o'clock, which is good. Titania is fantastic. I have a recent video discussing just how great Titania is, and also we played her a ton on stream getting ready for literally what we're about to talk about here with Tennocon Baro. And then also the Stranger's Hood. This was originally going to be a reward for being in-game during the live showcase that they're going to be doing during Tenno Live, because there's going to be an in-game part of the presentation. But this is instead going to be available for 48 hours following the start of Tennocon. So at 12:30, you're going to be able to log in and get the Stranger's Hood for your operator and drifter. So that's going to be available for 48 hours. You don't need to worry about missing it. Just make sure you log in, grab it from the market for 1 credit. Then we have the Tennocon digital pack items. This is a paid pack, but I wanted to show what these items are. So real quick. All right, first and foremost, we're looking at the armor. This is the full set of the Tennocon 2022 armor. I will say, I do think that this is the best of the Tennocon armors to date. It is like very sleek. All of the pieces are good. It's very difficult to find a good chest piece, but I think that each and every piece of this Tennocon set is very good. So it looks like this. We're going to go through some colors for it for anyone that wants to see those. I do think it takes color well. It takes color the same as the rest of the Tennocon pieces. The previous years only ever had problems with like them being a weird shape that doesn't fit on a lot of Warframes. But with these, I do think that they are like nice and sleek and good for many different frames, which is nice, as usually it's mostly just the shoulders that have been good in the past. With I think there was like one decent leg armor, but these I think is really nice. Like these are very good, just like copying main colors on Excal here. Very solid armor. Definitely probably the highlight of the pack overall, although the pack does contain quite a bit more than it usually does. A thing that is notable, and I usually would kind of just skip this, this is the Sugatra for, or this is the new Sugatra that you're getting in this pack. And this is a Sugatra that is actually of substance, which is not normal. It is like this big, huge, flowy Sugatra. And I actually think this is Sugatra I actually like. Most of them are pretty bad, but I think this one is one that I actually enjoy. I don't know that I'll use it a ton, but it's more visible than the usually kind of nothing that we get from Sugatras, and I think on certain weapons it might be like a nice pairing. Like if you were going to use single swords, for example, as you can see here on this Prismaskana, which is in the pack, or in the code pack for Death Battle, it's pretty nice looking. I like it quite a bit. Moving on, we have the emote to show before we move on to the other like major cosmetics. I'm not going to show the glyph and stuff because that's just visual right on the page where you purchase it. This is the Tennocon 2022 emote. Notable for this is that it is this pose, but then it has an ending animation. So if we close this, it is like a big flip out of the animation. I do think that it's weaker than previous years in terms of the prior Tennocon emotes. I do think that like 2020's was very good, and you know, I just have preferences for like some of these other ones. I do think that they have you know, just been better, and the 2019 one as well. And New War one was, yeah, no, this one was also 20. Yeah, this was 2020 as well. But yeah, so it's, you know, I think that the 2022 emote is the weakest, so I don't think that should be anyone's selling point, but it is, of course, cosmetic, and whatever you prefer. It is going to be hilarious to have Grendel doing that pose, for example. Moving on, the other major cosmetics are Operator cosmetics. So, it is a full suit for the Operator and the Drifter. So these are nice. Like, these are basically, like, kind of souped up Zaramon suits is the way that I see them. They're very good. I will say that because everyone just got the Void Shell suits, it's a bit of a harder sell because I do think that this is weaker than the Void Shells for me personally. But for people who want something that's like a little more like regular canon looking, I guess I would say, and less of like an armored suit, I do think that there's some appeal here. I will say that the hood open is egregiously bad. That is the case for the vast majority of helmets that are on your Operator, but it's really, really rough. I really wish that there just wasn't the top part at all. And if you're going to use this helmet, you're probably going to use it closed. In terms of colors and stuff, we have... I'll just show like a varietal here on like classic color palettes. You can see how it takes some colors. Unfortunately, we don't have a full randomization. I do think that this colors very well. It does take color like in the ways that you would want it to. It reacts very well to whatever you really want to give it. Yeah, and then this suit, the energy colors and stuff are pretty obvious. But besides that, you do get the two variations of the suit, which is the Operator one, and then you also get the Drifter variation. I will say the helmet opened is technically better on the Drifter because more of the hairs work, and you do get to keep your hair, but it doesn't really make it much better. It's really still very, very bad in my opinion, and you're probably better off without it. And because the helmet is kind of weird, you're kind of big head mode whenever you wear it on the Drifter. So just in general, I kind of am not recommending the helmet. Is really the main thing here is that the helmet is not very good. I do think that the rest of the suit is good, and both of them color like exactly the same. So if you're looking for a good suit for the Drifter, this is definitely up there, and it mixes and matches well with some of the other pieces that you have access to, like the Drifter vest and these arms Like, they go well together. There's not like a big clash or anything there. I think they are good, like, just in general. And they will go with the Void Shell okay as well in terms of the arms. Obviously, you're going to have to material match like you do with the Void Shell stuff. But you might want to go with different pants if you're going to go with the Void Shell suit. But of course, the Void Shell legs are immediately available and go perfectly. So all kinds of things you can do with that. But yeah, that is the stuff that is in the Tennocon digital pack that I think is notable and that I figured people might want to see. So moving on back to the notes. Okay, with all that stuff out of the way, we can move on to the final thing here. I meant to give it an entire video and rate every single item that Baro has, but unfortunately I ran out of time doing a lot of other things and being out of town for like a week and a half. So here's the abridged version. If you are figuring out what you're going to be getting from Tennocon Baro, which is accessible if you bought the Tennocon digital pack, that is another thing that is in that, is you get to visit Tennocon Baro. Every item Baro has ever brought will be available at the lowest cost it's ever been. And the notable things here are the honorable mention of the Vastalok. If you don't have access to like the Redeemer Prime, or like you're just looking for whatever is the best weapon you should get from Baro, it's the Vastalok. And then I have a top 10 here for you in terms of what I think the best things to get from Baro are in terms of just raw functionality. This does not include any cosmetics. There are a ton of very nice cosmetics on Baro, but in terms of just usable items, the list is as such. Is this 9 primed mods and then the electric status mods? Yes. But that's the stuff that's good from Baro right now, as a lot of the weapons that he offers are pretty outdated. The Vastalok, I will say, did almost make the list and beat out Prime Point Blank, which is why it is an honorable mention, because I really, really thought about it for a long time. But I do think that because the Vastalok, I think, is generally beaten out by having, you know, access to the Redeemer, and then for a lot of content, the Stropha is more than sufficient. I do think it barely gets beaten by Prime Point Blank, because Prime Point Blank is used on every single shotgun in the game, basically. Although some people are cutting it because we do have the primary merciless mods and such like that, but I think the upfront damage on most of the shotguns is still really valuable, and a lot of them will still use it. So, top, we have Prime Continuity. This is just the most used Prime mod in the game. Like, it's used on the vast majority of Warframes. The vast majority of Warframes will appreciate plus 55% duration, and that has not changed. Since this released, it has kind of just been the best Prime mod. Although it has traded places with number 7 on this list, Primed Reach, because at one point that Reach was kind of all that mattered. So yeah, Prime Continuity, absolutely stellar, used on most Warframes. I don't see that changing in any time soon, unless we get primed Continuity. That's kind of the only thing that could really take this down. But yeah, amazing. You should run it. Prime Target Cracker, very similar. This is used on pretty much every single one of the good secondaries that are in the game. And because it's on every single one of the good secondaries, it makes really high marks. Notably, the Primed Pistol Gambit is not on this list. The reason for that is because you can use the Corrupted Crit Chance mod, and it gives you more crit chance at a negative fire rate. And for most weapons, I think that that's better. So I don't think Prime Pistol Gambit even makes the list here, because that mod is available and also way easier to get and way easier to level, and it's just going to be more worth it overall. I think that it would actually be pretty foolish to invest in the resources to max out Prime Pistol Gambit until you are way, way down the line, further than anyone this list is useful for, honestly. Prime Pressure Point, very similar. It goes on every single melee weapon, pretty much all of them. The very few exceptions where people are choosing to use the Sacrificial Pressure, yeah, not really very common. You're going to use Prime Pressure Point. If you're using melee weapons, Prime Pressure Point goes on them. And because of that, here it is. Pretty simple choice there. Prime Flow. Prime Flow, very, very useful on a lot of Warframes. And a lot of Warframes can choose to go Primed Flow instead of Streamline. And you're going to get a kind of similar effect depending on how much energy you can generate based on the amount of enemies you're killing. And especially if you have Energize, which for the people that did the Nightwave that gave you 3 copies, you have at least a rank 1 of that, which is going to be a lot of people. It's going to be a lot easier to fill up that much higher energy cap, meaning that Prime Flow is even better than it normally would be, because Prime Flow and Energize are best friends. Also, things that are best friends are all of the companions you bring, which all should be using Primed Animal Instinct. This gives you the enemy radar, and it's good. You just get a good effect that is always happening as long as your pet is alive. You put this on the Vulpaphyla. It is just an auto include in them to give you the nice quality of life of having the radar. It's really as simple as that. It's used on all of them, so you should grab it. Also, a thing that might be surprising to a lot of people is Primed Firestorm being here at number 6. So Primed Firestorm is not used on that many weapons, but it is used on every single weapon that has enough damage already to kill enemies so that you can simply hit more enemies. It is not a requirement on almost any weapon, but it is such an enormous like AoE add and really, really helps you kill like just the full rooms of enemies. And that's just so nice. And because those primary weapons I feel like are more impactful, generally speaking, than the melee weapons that are going to be using primed reach, I think Firestorm at this point is probably superior to reach because those weapons just matter more. But reach is still absolutely incredible. If you're using a weapon that is not a glaive, because obviously at this point I think the glaive prime is the best melee weapon in the game, and it does not use primed reach. And also the Zorus exists, and it does not use primed reach, and that's the best new player weapon. It's a tough call on primed reach because, you know, you're moving into like different... It's a different space of like what types of weapons are going to be needing this, and it's a large investment whenever you could just keep using the Zorus until you get a glaive. Which is, you know, if you want to branch out into other melee weapons, that's going to cost you 40k endo because primed reach is basically required, and that's just the way that it is. Moving on, we have primed heated charge. This is just the primed heat mod for secondary weapons. It's used on the vast majority of them. It's really, really good. There are some weapons that will instead opt to use the 60/60 mod just for the additional status chance because that ends up being better, but in a lot of cases you're going to be using primed heated charge because it's just an absolute ton of damage to be adding to your weapon. And then I just bundled all of the electric status mods into one here. So, 2 of the electric status mods can technically be farmed, but they come from Hive missions, and no one is doing Hive missions. That's stupid. So, the 2 that are exclusive to Baro, and the 2 that come from Hive missions means you should probably just grab them all from Baro. You should probably really just grab them all from Baro. It's not only going to be faster because they are not that expensive ducats-wise, but also it's just going to be a better experience for you overall. So probably just grab all 4 of these from Baro. And then finally, as I said, Prime Point Blank. It's used on all the shotguns. The shotguns really love to have that upfront damage with a few exceptions, and the few exceptions are weapons that are like shotguns in mod classification only. So yeah, these are the top 10 Baro items that I was just grabbing in terms of their gameplay effects, of course. And yeah, that's what's up. That's everything to know about Tennocon 2022 as we go into it. I will note, if anyone would like to play Tennocon Bingo, I am going to be posting a bingo card into my Discord. The Discord is linked down below. So yeah, go down there and join in on that, and it'll be... I will point out that I know a lot of people make bingo cards. The bingo card that we have, it's going to be a little different. You'll see. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. It's going to be it's just a wee bit different than you might be expecting because it's less predictions and more other things. Regardless, that is going to do it. Hopefully you guys are ready for Tennocon, and I will see you tomorrow for the Tennocon stream at about noonish or so. So yeah, that's going to do it. Goodbye.